Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes, bringing you another Old Man Orange Presents Via VHS episode. One of them from the rarities vault that we have from back in the day that just never got put out. So come join us for another fun-filled retro movie review. Let's jump on in.
So welcome back to the Via VHS Retro Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Wesley, and as always, joined by Spencer Scott Holmes. And I got to tell you, this has been a war of attrition trying to get this episode up. It's been 3 weeks in the making, and hopefully it's well worth it because we wanted to do something in the Kung Fu action realm because your latest Pizza Boys is out, and it's got that kind of Kung Fu vibe. I should have
pulled one out for, I forgot to pull one of these out earlier, but yeah, I got the prints and everything ready to go with the old martial arts fun times, Pizza Boys, Ninjutsu Sunrise, yeah. Highly recommended, and we had planned on
bringing out an episode that corresponds with the release of that. But it's been we've literally tried this the third week in a row. We've tried this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even going to go into all the details with how we possibly fixed this issue or what the issue was, because I'm honestly kind of annoyed by it right now. but it seems like the issue might be fixed, which I'm really pumped about. We're going to hope and pray that we're actually able to record this episode, because tonight we're doing Supercop, Jackie Chan, Yeoh, and is that how you say her name?
I always say Michelle Yeoh, but I think it is Yeoh. But I like Yeoh more. Yeah. I don't know. As I said, that sometimes it's back in the day when you just used to read things and there was nobody there to pronounce it for you. You just started, making your own up.
Well, this is amazingly the first time we've dipped our toes into Jackie Chan. We've never done a Jackie Chan movie.
I'm kind of surprised there too, because I literally own like 25 Jackie Chan films.
Yeah, Jackie Chan is just, he's got so much stuff in the VHS era, and everything's kind of like with the exception of like Rush Hour and the Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights and stuff like that. Most of the stuff he has is, at least in America, somewhat a cult thing. It's like it's really genre based. Really targeted towards people who like kung fu and action and stunts, and So, and that's the kind of stuff that we mostly go after. We throw in our big movies, here and there, the Armageddons and Top Guns and whatnot. But for the most part, this is, kind of our bread and butter. So the fact that we haven't done Jackie Chan before is kind of, bizarre. Yeah, honestly.
It really is. And this is like that time period, like about mid-90s, where there's this great renaissance of martial arts movies being brought back to America and in theaters, and especially with Jackie Chan and Jet Li. And, I feel like there's a couple ones that come right before. There's like Rumble in the Bronx. That was like a huge one. And then when they brought that did so well, they did the dub of Supercop, but then once you get Rush Hour and all that stuff starts coming out, and I miss those days when you could go to the theaters and actually see a martial arts film, because nowadays it's so rare. Really, that new Michelle Yeoh one, the Everything Everywhere at Once, that's like the kind of the closest thing to having a new martial arts movie in theaters, and that one's kind of like a partial martial arts movie.
I still haven't watched that.
It's interesting. Like, I thought I was going to like it more than I really did. I mean, I still thought it was cool, but it's kind of one of those movies where it gets that like ridiculously overly complicated thing, like almost an Inception. And then once you kind of realize what it's all about, you're like, oh, that's actually really simple. Like, I don't know. I felt like they went way over the top just to tell you like a real simple, idea at the end.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's really fun. I mean, I've been meaning to watch that. I mean, that's what everybody's talking about. I think it got nominated for a lot of, Oscars, which, I have a love-hate relationship with the Academy Awards. And it's not a political thing either. It's just, I don't like how they're set up. I just don't think it. Yeah. In the context of movie history, I think it's, as the youngins say, problematic.
Well, it's that thing that I know this is not Oscars, but it goes just for award shows in general. I always just like what Eddie Vedder sort of said when he got that Grammy and he holds it up and he just goes, "This means nothing." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's how I sort of feel like, who's to say what's better than something else? You know what I mean? I mean, we can all have our own personal views, but I just don't think that the idea of having these award ceremonies is really a good thing.
Yeah. Or the Jim Carrey where he got up and did the whole thing about, if I win a third Golden Globe, then I'll be enough. He does this whole thing. Oh man, but that's way off topic. But yeah, Jackie Chan, we're doing Supercop. I can't remember how we landed on Supercop because honestly, we decided to do this 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah, we did. Well, it's one of those ones. I bought the Chinese original version of it, and then I was like, "Well, I have this version. I'd like to watch it, so let's go with that one." And even though this is like technically called Police Story 3 Supercop, I feel like these Supercop movies, or not Supercop, but the Police Story movies, they're kind of like 007 films, where it's the same character over and over again, but it's not like each one's its own individual story.
yeah, so there's no continuity. I was worried about that because, you know.
Yeah, the only thing really is just Jackie Chan and his girlfriend are like the continuity. And there's some other, like the police chief and so on. But it's literally like a 007 movie where you see M and Moneypenny and all that kind of stuff. And then you go on a brand new adventure.
Yeah, it didn't feel like, I mean, it certainly didn't feel like I was missing anything going into it. Or like, oh, who's this character? So yeah, it's his own thing. They decided to dub this when you mentioned Rumble in the Bronx, how big that was. Mm-hmm. And then we get Supercop, and then this is one of those movies. I think Tarantino said this is one of his desert island movies.
Yeah,
because it's just. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I think he says he's like this is the movie that if I was gonna shoot like 100 movies into space, like this would be one of them on that list. Like it's that good.
Well, yeah, it's not just the thing is with Jackie Chan. The reason why I think he's like one of the best ever, in the history of cinema. Like, mm-hmm. And I intentionally didn't give him a title. Like I didn't say best actor or best stuntman because he takes, is he as good as martial arts as maybe like a Bruce Lee? Probably not. But in stunts, he's like Mount Rushmore, and then the whole package is just amazing.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's that thing that realistically, it's like if you ever get a chance to read Jackie Chan's autobiography, it's amazing. But then it just like when he goes into that training that he had, like in that opera school where he just literally got like adopted at and lived there for like, 12 years or whatever it was, like in the ridiculous, like hardcore training and discipline that they went through, and just like the 6 hours of sleep a night and barely eating and all the stuff that they had to do. But, at the very end, he kind of says of it, it's like, all this heartache and strain, all this stuff. He's like, yeah, it's one of those ones you almost is like it's not really moral or anything like that. But he's like, I don't think you can create people like as talented, as we kind of were coming out of that school and everything like that. And I mean, it just created like tons of martial artists kind of came straight out of that same school with Jackie Chan there and everything like that. And I think that's just where he just gets like, because I would almost even say, even though Bruce Lee's it, I think that's I always kind of wonder with Bruce Lee because like. That Jackie Chan, no matter how many movies he's ever done in his entire life, there's always going to be that Bruce Lee's going to be just, it seems like he's going to be right above him, like, because he's the icon. You know what I mean? Like, and Jackie Chan can do over 100 films, and it's still like those 5 Bruce Lee movies are always going to be like hovering over him,
I think you're
or 4
right.
and a half.
Yeah, I think you're right. But it's not, I don't see it that way personally. I think the broader consensus is sorry, I hit my microphone. In the broader consensus, that's probably true. Bruce Lee's just such a name. It's one of those, Bruce Lee's like one of those people you see on a t-shirt like Bob Marley, and the person wearing the t-shirt has never seen a Bruce Lee movie, but they think it's fucking cool. Like that's when they've reached like a legendary status because it's just a name that's just so ingrained in pop culture that it's just an icon. And but Jackie Chan I personally have always viewed him differently because he's a martial artist and he can do all those things, but it's the stunts that it's a different level, and that's something that Bruce Lee, I mean, I guess he did stunts but not like this. I mean, this is like Buster Keaton shit. This is like old school stuff.
Well, that's what I mean. Is I think that like that training that Jackie Chan has, as far as all the stunts that he can do, is like that's the part that just makes it just so ridiculous. Like just the skill he has. Like there's one of those movies that I remember I watched a while back. It's called Wheels on Meals, and there's a skateboard scene in there, and he talks about it in his book, and it's like he learned how to skateboard in like 6 months or something like that, maybe even less. And the stuff he's doing in there would put shame to pretty much most skateboarders. Just like it's ridiculous. It's old school skateboarding, but it's just like he's just doing these just ridiculous tricks and spins and all this kind of stuff. And he literally learned how to do it right before the movie.
That's unbelievable. I mean, I will say this though, it's obviously there's a lot of discipline, but there's also just some God-given talent there too. Like he just to be able to do those things takes a certain level of just natural ability too. And granted that discipline probably brought that out, but
yeah,
he's just, you know, there's other people who are disciplined like he was and didn't do the same stuff. Like he's just one of those kind of like incredibly talented people. I mean, also music, you know.
Yeah.
He's like a recording artist in other countries. So it's crazy. The dude is absolutely fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's just he's got skills galore. Like I think that's what makes Jackie Chan just so amazing. It's just so many things that he's done and can do, and so much variety and so on like that. And you always kind of learn new stuff all the time that you're like, oh, I didn't know he did that or this, you know, and something like that, you know. And he's almost that kind of guy that like I don't even know if there'll ever be another kind of Jackie Chan, you know, martial artist out there, stuntman style. You know, there's tons of great martial artists and so on like that, but just that Jackie Chan level of, you know, just some of the stuff he does. Like, I just almost feel like, are people even going to do stunts like that anymore? You know, they're definitely, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it half CG.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I wonder if that going forward, that we're, you know, my son, my kids, they're going to grow up in a world where like they go to movies, they're CG. You know, that's just what they know. Like I can remember going to Jurassic Park and being blown the fuck away, and that's just what they know. So is the thing for them going to be when they start making new movies and they're things like, you know, stunts and more practical effects make a huge comeback, and then it's blended with CG. I'm hoping there'll be something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Because honestly, you're going to have to do something different to kind of get butts and seats anyway these days. People are getting tired of the same old stuff. I mean, I can tell you right now, there's a huge comic book fatigue going on. And I think something like that, like a resurgence of something like this, where there's like practical effects, it's just, you know, another kind of skill set that you're bringing to the movie. You're not just an actor, but you're doing something completely different. And it's amazing. And it's just something you want to watch over and over. I think maybe movies need something like this. I'm hoping that maybe more stuff like this will be made because, you know, I think it's superhero burnout, CG burnout, fake bullshit burnout is, I think, what's going on right now.
It's just that thing that so many movies you kind of watch nowadays, you kind of, if you sit back and look at it, you go, let's be honest, over 90% of this movie is a cartoon. It's not real. It's not you almost can't even, I really feel like they're almost lying to you if they call it a live action movie, because it's not live action. You know what I mean? Like the only thing that's in there is it's actors standing on a green screen stage. I mean, it's not even theater almost by this point. It's literally just like, so, you know, I'm not saying there's great movies out there that are like this, but it's like, even like, I remember like watching the Man of Steel special features and seeing like, and realizing like, oh, they just literally CG on all the costumes on there too. There's people aren't even wearing stuff. You know what I mean? Like I remember that was the one. It was like, it's like this movie's, you know, it's like, even though I love Man of Steel, but it's like one of those ones you just kind of go, gosh, it's like, is it really even a live action film anymore? It's like, you know, you're really just one step off from it being Final Fantasy Spirits Within, you know?
But yeah, see, that's the thing though. I enjoyed watching this more than, I could tell you this right now. I enjoyed watching Supercop now. It's 30 years old, more than the last probably pretty much every Marvel movie since Endgame.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I still enjoy the Marvel movies. It's like, you know, I go see them and you know, they're good. I mean, I'll see just about anything, but it's one of those ones like you just can't beat practical stunts, actual effects. It's like, that's why the same thing with horror movies. Like horror movies are such a hard one to do nowadays too, because like they just look so much better if it's a real effect. I feel like that, like, you know, take the CG away, just have straight up real effects. It's not saying there's not a time and a place for all that kind of CG and so on, but when you just have something magical and real, and just like Supercop, and you're watching these stunts in here, and you know that that's a real person doing that stunt. And plus, since it's an, you know, Asian movies, it's like they're not like American movies where they, you know, you can't have the actual actor do the stunts anymore. It's not the 1920s. You know, or anything else. So some people, Errol Flynn still was doing stunts and so on in like the 30s and 40s, but it probably started to peter out by about that point. But you know, it's one of those ones, like there's something to so be said about that. I mean, just the scenes in this movie here, it's just, this movie's just constant great action, great fights, stunts galore, you know, and it just goes from one, you know, great action scene to the next.
Yeah, this movie is incredible. Well, so kind of let you know, we're talking about Supercop. This is it's part of a franchise. So this is actually Supercop 3.
Or Police Story 3.
Police Story 3. And here it was, you know, dubbed, and it was called Supercop, and it came out in 96 here, but it was actually a 1992 film. Yeah. And like you said, after Rumble in the Bronx, that kind of got people really interested in more Jackie Chan stuff. And then they dubbed this one, Jackie Chan dubs his own lines. And a Hong Kong detective teams up with his female Chinese counterpart to stop a Chinese drug czar, is the IMDb description of this movie. Obviously starring Jackie Chan, Michelle Yeoh, Maggie Chung, Kenneth Tsang, and Wei Yin. And after that, I'm not going to try to pronounce any more of these names, but it's the big, like, oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Throwing up the Chinese version.
Yeah, the interesting thing about, well, there's two big things I'll say about this. One, the calling card, whether it's, I think even in the original Chinese release or the American release, is that it's like you're getting Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh. Like they drive that home in the trailer. Like, oh man, this is like, you think this is badass? Well, now you're getting her too, and they deliver on that. But also in this, there was like a whole, like, they tried to turn this into like a legit 90s summer blockbuster, because it even had like a kind of like hip hop R&B like soundtrack that they tried to release, and there was
Tupac like a video on there.
Yeah, like he had a music. Who do you have the music video with now?
I thought it was Tupac he had the music video with.
Maybe, but there was another one that was like more of a poppy kind of like oh gosh, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was oh gosh, I'm not even gonna try to remember. Regulators. Who am I thinking of? Oh gosh, just right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, I think it was with him. I'll have to look it up, but yeah, they tried to turn this into like a legitimate 90s summer blockbuster and like have the soundtrack and have like all that stuff to it. Was there any video games or anything attached to this?
No, I think the only there's that one Jackie Chan game for PlayStation 1 called Jackie Chan Stuntman or whatever. I think that's like the only Jackie Chan. I think there might be one for Game Boy Advance based on that cartoon show he had, but yeah, it's kind of weird. Well, I think it's one of those ones it's odd that there's not more. You think almost Japan would even just make, you know, because, you know, Jackie Chan is just as popular over there too. You think that they would have just been making Jackie Chan. Well, I take it back to, there's an arcade game from way back in the day that's a Jackie Chan fighting game. So,
oh, really?
There's like two of them too, and it almost has like not necessarily Mortal Kombat graphics, but kind of something like that. Like it's almost I don't know if it's necessarily like digitized, but it's got like really well rendered looking either cartoon Jackie Chan, or I almost want to say it's digitized, but
yeah, I don't know. Hold on one second. Almost there.
Just almost there, but yeah, it's just one of those ones. Like, I think that's the interesting thing is that the soundtrack is like one of those ones. Like, I love the Jet Li ones where you get the kind of like the mixed match of like the urban hip hop with like the kung fu and everything like that. Because I always think that's just a cool combination there and so on. It's literally like that. I just feel like Wu-Tang Clan. Like, I feel like that's almost why I like the Wu-Tang Clan so much, is because it has all the martial arts stuff to it. I feel like that adds so much more to everything, you know. But I feel like in the Jackie Chan one, Jackie Chan seems like he just seems like too old of a guy to be putting that hip hop music over the top in a sense. You know what I mean? Because by this point he's like 46 or something like that. You know?
Really? Is he that old in this?
Man, maybe he's probably in his 40s.
I was thinking he was my age. We're looking at 30 years ago. He's like 69 now. So 30 years ago when he's making this, he'd be about 38.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's what he sort of is. I was also too, if it's 92, especially, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this came out originally 30 years ago, almost 31 years ago. So he had been like, 38, 39, somewhere in there when he was making this, which is how old I am. So he's same age as me, and I ain't doing any of that shit. I'd be in so much pain if I tried any of these things. Like, not just the stunts, just like any of the athletic stuff. Like, it's just not happening anymore.
Yeah, there comes a point. I always try to keep up some form of athleticness, but even the, as cool as it sounds like martial arts would be to do, I feel like the older you get, you're like, you know what? So sometimes I feel like you're just asking the sort of get hurt here and there, and then I won't be able to do any weightlifting or anything. So I don't know if the trade-off's worth it.
Yeah, he's just spry. I mean, obviously there's, again, a lot of discipline and, maintaining that. But anyway, I give up on trying to find the music video. I want to say it was Warren G.
Oh, maybe that's
somebody else. I want to say it was him, Warren G, and somebody else. It was like a girl, and I cannot remember who it was. But anyway, like, he's like dancing in the music video, and it's really corny as hell. And at that point, this is 96. So it's 4 years later. So he is in his early 40s.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, whatever. But
well, I think what it's really what they're trying to do, because like the way that the Dimension version is, because I watched both the versions. At first I watched the Chinese one 3 weeks ago, and then I was like, well, I need to refresh myself. It's been a while, so I watched the dubbed one again today just to see the differences in it. And it literally has that thing where, like, who they were like, they're like, we got to hit that target audience of the 13-year-old kid. You know what I mean? That's who we're gonna get. We're gonna get them with some like hip hop music in there. It's got martial arts. It's got kung fu. Which, I mean, I kid you not. Like, I feel like when these Jackie Chan movies came out, I remember like I was so into all of them. Like, Rumble in the Bronx, Supercop, of course, Rush Hour. Saw all those ones in theaters and so on like that. Like, I was so into all those martial arts films. All the Jet Li ones and so on like that too. And as time's gone on, it's just once you kind of you're out to go out to get the Blu-rays and DVDs and all that stuff, you start searching for all like the extra ones, from back in the day, or like the good copies of them. Because it used to be that thing that you would always be able to get like the cheap packs where like, here's, 10 martial arts movies for $5, but they're just kind of funky, like, destroyed grindhouse copies of dubs on them and so on. And now it's like to the point where it's like, gosh, all the good martial arts movies, I got to pay like $25 like a Blu-ray for them because I want the original, Cantonese language in them and so on like that. Mm-hmm. And like, the good copies and, everything. Like they're just not cheap anymore.
Does is the opening credit sequence different in the original version?
Because they don't have that very like 90s hardcore super fast editing thing at all.
Holy shit, that about gave me an epileptic seizure. Like, damn, yeah. Like the opening to this was like, honestly, it set off a very bad impression to be quite honest. Like, I knew I was in for something better than. But it felt like I was watching the opening to Biodome or something, because it was just like a lot of color, really like flashing, strobing, just bullshit. So I'm glad. I wish I would have watched the version you watched, because, oh man, that and the soundtrack together is off.
Yeah, well, I'll say it's like beyond those kind of things. You're not missing too much in the American version. Mm-hmm. There's like a handful of scenes that they kind of like trim down a little bit. Like in the very beginning, like instead of having like the super hyper stylized MTV like thing, they do have like a longer scene of where the police officers are standing around talking about drug trades. And I almost want to say they're talking about like where people are storing drugs and like so on, like in their bodies. Like one of those ones where it's just, it's like, that's like how, like, that's how you start the movie. It's like, okay, this guy's, storing some, heroin up his butthole right here and everything. You're like, oh, okay. And then there's another scene in the movie, like right when they go, I know we're kind of jumping ahead here, but when they go to, the drug lord's brother's house, there's a scene where there's just these like three girls sitting outside, and this guy comes up and goes, "Hey, you want some drugs?" Pretty much, and just like goes up and just shoots like a needle into her arm, which is really weird. Like, well, like I kind of see why they cut that one out. They're like, okay, if we're going for our 13-year-old demographic, we can't see people getting just shooting up. But it also seems like such a weird scene for like a Jackie Chan one, because mostly Jackie Chan doesn't have those kind of scenes in his movies. Like there's that one. I'm kind of getting a little bit off topic, but in a sense it's there. But there's that one movie that's made by the Enter the Dragon guy, and Jackie Chan's in it. And it's kind of the best way to describe it. It's like picture like Jackie Chan doing like a Dirty Harry style movie. Mm-hmm. And there's two completely different versions, because Jackie Chan was so pissed at this guy and he didn't like him. And, he was making him like Jackie Chan. It's the only Jackie Chan movie where Jackie Chan says fuck. It's, it's one of those ones that's just hard edge and hard boiled and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's actually really cool because it's not like anything else you've ever seen Jackie Chan do. But then there's also the Jackie Chan cut of it where he cuts down things, like he cuts out the language, he cuts out the nudity, but then he throws in some more martial arts stuff. So it's one of those ones where it's like, I kind of wish there was once again, one of those versions where I edit both versions together so I get everything in one, But that I thought that movie was really cool. I'm trying to think what that one's called, but I have it over there somewhere. I think it's like The Protector or something like that, I think is what it's called. But, and then going back on the Supercop, I guess, before I go too far, is the other couple things I think's in there. There's like a couple extra scenes between Michelle Yeoh and Jackie Chan talking about like Chinese relations. And then this one's I think is kind of funny. There, the scene when it's like, "Oh, Fidel, you're like Fidel Castro, of a great dictator." Instead, they say, "You're like George Bush, a great dictator."
That's funny. I thought that was odd.
Yeah,
I thought that was odd watching that version. I was like, "That's where you're going with it, Fidel Castro, whatever."
Yeah, as I said, they're probably just like, we can't insult George Bush right now. He just got out of office.
Yeah, because this would be like, actually at this point, when it's released in the United States, Bill Clinton's running for a second term, 96. So Slick Willie, you can't really call him a dictator. Dick, but dictator. But yeah, real quick before I go, I don't want to backtrack too far. Adina Howard featuring Warren G. What's love got to do with it? That's the Jackie Chan music video. Very 90s. Kind of looks Men in Black a little bit. Just it's a thing. So there it is. But just go watch it because Jackie Chan's just so out of place in it. But also the soundtrack is so out of place. And even in the movie, in the American version, especially we'll kind of get into it, but there's this one part where they play like a new version of the Bee Gees Staying Alive.
Oh yeah, that one's a weird one.
Atrocious. God, it's atrocious. All right, so after if you survive the epileptic seizure at the beginning of the film at the American version, which is probably going to be the most available version for most people.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to get the Chinese version. It costs a lot of money. It costs like $30 plus.
Yeah, see, for me, I went to rent it on Vudu. That's pretty much my go-to if like I don't own the film. And it was actually on sale. And so I bought it. So I bought Supercop for like $5.
No, perfect.
Yeah, so I went on there and bought it, but most people will watch the American version. But if you survive the epileptic seizure at the beginning of it in that crazy opening sequence, it's basically we won't go through the whole movie, but Jackie Chan is Supercop, and they drive that shit home hard, like he's Supercop, like the Supercop. And they kind of trick him into taking this job, and he's going to go away for a certain amount of time. He's going to leave his girlfriend, which is kind of like an interesting plot point. And he tells her, "Hey, this is dangerous. There's, here's my insurance, safety deposit box, all that stuff." And then he goes away to train with Michelle Yeoh, who's like, what is she, like head of something?
Well, it's like the whole thing too is you got the Jackie Chan's the Hong Kong police officer, and he's going into mainland China.
Yes.
Michelle Yeoh is like in charge of all those special. Or she's Interpol, I almost want to say.
Yeah. So also, like, I try to. What's the best way to describe to somebody who may be young, younger, or doesn't understand the geopolitical context of the Hong Kong like thing? But basically, after 100 years, Hong Kong was going to go back to China or something, right?
Yeah, because I thought that just happened. Maybe I'm wrong with that.
Well, it was
like one of those ones like it's like what did like England have like a patent on it, and they're like, oh no, it's expiring.
Kind of. I mean, it was, I can't remember exactly what the situation was. So I'm to somebody who knows in detail the geopolitical, deal with this. I know I sound like a fucking idiot right now. So I'm fully acknowledging that. But I know that there was an impending transition in Hong Kong. It was a big deal. I remember hearing about it in school before it happened. I want to say it happened like 98, I think.
Well, I want to say they mentioned 1997 in the movie because there's that part at the very end of the movie when they get the money and, Jackie Chan's like, oh, it's going to Hong Kong. And Michelle Yeoh was like, no, it's going to China or whatever. He's like, well, 1997 will be all together anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So 97, I knew it was around that time, 97, 98. So this movie is kind of made with that in mind. Like that's like, I probably was in a lot of movies at that time made over there because it was like this impending big deal, Hong Kong and the transition. But I think it was going back to China is what the situation was exactly. So I don't know, but I know that that's kind of like an overlaying arc. It doesn't play too much into it, but it is there. Within the story. But yeah, Jackie Chan is kind of his uncle and the police chief are kind of arguing about who they should send the Supercop, and like he doesn't want to send his nephew, and then basically they trick him into taking this job, but he would have taken it anyway. He wanted the job. And the job is basically the drug trade in Hong Kong is like really extensive at this point, and they need a super cop to go in there and set shit straight. And I'm going to be honest with you, the first 30 minutes of this movie, I enjoyed the comedy in it, the levity, but I was fucking lost. a lot of it, like not because I couldn't keep up with what was going on because of the the subtitles or whatever. Like it felt disjointed the first 30 minutes, but it doesn't matter because it's so fucking fun. Like it's really fun.
Well, it does kind of start once it gets rolling, things start kind of happening. It's like boom, 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 boom. I mean, there's even stuff too. It's like, cause once he goes to infiltrate and he goes to like the prison camp or something like that, like I don't think beforehand they mention how long he's there for. So it makes it feel like he's been there for like one day. Like, I don't know what it is. It feels like he's like, they sit there, but like, I think it says later on that he was in there for a year. I think I caught that, or something like that. But it really feels like it almost feels like that scene should have been a little bit longer just to make it feel like, oh, he has been there for a while. Because it just seems like he shows up there, they're like shoveling coal, and then like a prison like riot happens, and then he runs out of there. Yeah,
the whole thing is weird. It's so essentially so Jackie Chan is kind of tricked by his uncle and the police commissioner to take this job. They have a fake argument to make it seem like, oh, they're not going to let him go there, and he volunteers for it. And so he goes. The police officers, Michelle Yeoh's like some security, flirting with her and being all silly. There's like a montage where they put makeup on Jackie Chan and stuff like that. And that she, because he's being cocky and kind of like rude, that she kind of sets him up in the first fight that we have, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah. There's just that cool martial arts like training camp or whatever, and there's just all these like students there just doing all this like crazy stuff, smashing pots, breaking bricks. You know what I mean? Just like insane.
What's their furniture budget? Because it's like they just break stuff every day.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like going through. Somebody's got to clean that up.
One of the first things I was thinking, like. Yeah, he just walks in, they're breaking pots and breaking boards over each other's back. And I'm like, how long did they do this for? How much stuff do they go through? What's the cleanup time like? What's the budget for this? It just seems wasteful.
Yeah, it's just breaking all kinds of stuff left and right. You know what I mean? And then, as I said, somebody's got to clean that up at the end of the day. Come in and you have to sweep all those, broken pots up all over the ground. Looks like Link from Zelda just came in there.
It does. That was one of the other things I noticed early on is how ridiculous that was. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh finally has a chance to, get back at him a little bit. She sets up in a fight with a super athletic student that she has. And it's a really good like action scene that kind of plays out. he rolls them into the street on this giant cartwheel kind of thing, like a hamster wheel for humans. And kind of sprawled out like the Vitruvius Man or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of wondering. I wonder what the main purpose of that exercise is. Is it like kind of the equivalent of the NASA like spinning you around in the whatever the orbiter thing?
I would imagine if you're in it, that trying to balance in it probably really works your core.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. You're probably not supposed to just go rolling out like Jackie Chan does.
Yeah. I think it's you're supposed to be kind of controlling it, and in that position, I would imagine that's a huge core workout.
Yeah, just pure tension all the way through.
Yeah. So maybe that's it. I don't know, but it's really, really cool to watch. But yeah, he ends up like in a tree. It's like really funny and humorous. And the next thing you know, you're at the prison camp. And I didn't know what the fuck the plan was. Very confused at that point in particular.
That's what I mean. It just throws you into that prison camp. And then it literally just feels like he was there for like, that's his first day there. It doesn't feel like there's any been like he's been there for a while. Like I felt like it almost needed to be, I know this extends the movie, but it almost needs like an extra 20 minutes of him being in prison just to show that like, okay, it has been a while. And he's built up this relationship with the, what's the guy's name? Python or
Panther, and
it's one of those ones that it almost needed to show a buildup of like their relationship. It's just all of a sudden it's just like, hey, by the way, I'm going to get you out of here. Oh, okay, cool.
Well, see, you said Jackie Chan's been in there for a year?
It says that like later on. Like I felt like when he goes back to like his fake hometown or whatever, one of the characters I want to say in there says, oh, Jackie Chan's been there for 1 year or something like that. Or it's been a year since you've been gone.
Oh, so I know what's going on with that. So I know he hasn't been in the camp for a year because he told his girlfriend he was going to be, I think it was like 6 weeks.
Or maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. And so he had only just got there, I think, that day. I think it is like that. I think it's just very weird. But when they're talking about not seeing him in a year, not to go too far ahead, but we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
That's just more backstory is what you're saying? Or fake backstory for the character?
Fake backstory, because they had to fake a family situation. And I think that's why they were trying to he had said something dubious where it kind of revealed that, it what the situation was, and it seems so they had to cover it up by saying he had been there like he hadn't been there like a year. Can you hear my son?
Not really. A little bit. I'm gonna go check on him in a second. But anyway, so he's got to break this Panther guy out of this camp. You don't know why, but it's a really cool scene that, they're shoveling coal and stuff. And basically when the guy's trying to break out, Jackie, he's about to get stabbed by a bayonet, like he's hiding in coal and they're stabbing the coal. Jackie Chan shows up, frees him. And then you have this really interesting, like kind of scene where it's like a mix of martial arts and then stunt work and kind of like just like a lot of athleticism because they have to run up this hill and stuff. So the action is really kind of like jetted up at this point because it was like a lot of talking and a lot of jokes and stuff. And now it's like you had 2 action scenes within like a 5-minute period. Yeah. Well, it is kind of true. Like, I feel like in the first 20 minutes, there's not, for a Hong Kong film, there's not tons of action in that beginning part, especially in the Chinese one, because it's got an extra like 5 minutes of like talking at the beginning or whatever. Maybe not that long, but a little bit longer. But like once that movie gets to that part right there, it just feels like it's action scene after action scene. It's almost that kind of thing, like action scene, then maybe like 5 minutes of like dialogue, then back to another action scene, and it just continues on and on and on.
Yeah, it's it gets really, really exciting from there. But yeah, so this Panther guy, he and Panther escape. And Panther is I guess this is really important, an associate of Chaibot. Am I saying that right? And
I think so.
He's like the Pablo Escobar of like the Chinese drug trade. Like he's like the main guy. Yeah. And he's like way, way up there. And they really want to bust this guy. So Jackie Chan's kind of infiltrating this situation. He gains the trust of Panther. Panther invites him to, I think they're going to Hong Kong, right?
I think that's when they're in Hong Kong and he's up there playing his Sega Genesis and playing some Tetris.
Yeah. Well, that's
Sega spent so much money to get that Tetris license, and then they couldn't sell it for some reason in the US because Nintendo had like a blockade to it. But they spent like a ton of money to get that. So that game was that Tetris version that you see in that there. It didn't officially come to the US till the Sega Genesis Mini. That was the first time that they're able to get that finally over here because of Nintendo's like lock on it.
That's so interesting because I thought it looked odd. It looked, I don't remember it looking like that.
Which is funny in the American version, they try to make it feel like he's playing Street Fighter or something like that because it's got these like punching sounds and so on. And I almost want to say they show less scenes of the Tetris game. Like I want to say that like in the Chinese one, there's a couple more shots of him playing Tetris. Like it's almost like they sort of hide it a little bit more in the US one.
So weird. Things like that are just fascinating to me.
Yeah, just those little things.
Oh gosh, and Tetris is addicting. I love it.
Yeah.
So he works with Panther. He's got to go. He meets like Panther's like group of people. They're doing nefarious villainous things, and they go to his hometown. I think they're in Wuhan. Actually,
they are in Wuhan. Yeah.
Yeah. Which the whole time I'm thinking, start getting the EBGBs thinking about the future context of Wuhan.
Yeah.
And what they kindly bestowed upon the entire planet. But yeah, so they go to Wuhan and they're going to meet Jackie Chan's family, but he isn't really from there. And I was like, what are they going to do in this situation? Because he's like, oh, what street do you live on? He's like, over there. Like, what's that house? What's this place? And he's like, he doesn't know shit. But they got to jump on it. And Michelle Yeoh and the guy who's his uncle plays a made up family.
Yeah.
So Jackie Chan has to play along and pretend like he knows these people super well, and kind of keep the cover going.
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of has some just funny moments of like, his uncle playing like the mom or whatever and so on, and really trying to keep Panther there and stuff. And he has that look at Panther. I was like, no, let's get out of here. We're going to go eat like downtown. See you later.
Definitely trying to hustle money out of her.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of Panther. Yeah, so that was a really funny scene, really clever. There's a random fight scene in a diner, which I can't remember the context of that, why that happened.
There's other police officers that show up there, and they're looking for that. And then there's that part where Michelle Yeoh was like, whoa, I'm Interpol agent or whatever. Like, you can't invade right now and stuff. And then, she doesn't have her IDs on her or anything like that. So the guy tries to arrest her, and then she just takes him out. And then from there, it just kind of creates just some conflict of like, Interpol comes in together, whatever, like the Wuhan police officers there and so on.
Well, that's the first time you get to see her really kick ass in this movie and really show out, and her and Jackie Chan together, and it's just fucking magic. It's so good. It's you get way more, like it just ramps up throughout the entire movie. I feel like every action scene kind of just takes it to another level. Now, something I really liked about it because I didn't feel like the middle had the best stuff. Like they saved all the best stuff for the end, but each time I feel like it, got a little bit more exciting, a little more dangerous, But yeah, so they escape. Michelle Yeoh kicks some ass. They go meet Chaibot, who plays Tetris / Double Dragon or Streets of Rage, whatever the fuck he's playing.
Yeah, whatever the Americans are trying to get him to play.
Yeah, whatever. Sega's like, fuck these fucking Nintendo assholes, and they're hold on everything.
We paid so much for that license agreement from Russia.
Jesus. Oh man.
Yeah, they paid like an arm and a leg for that, and then couldn't technically use it in the US. They had to sell it like in Australia and like China and so on.
That fucking blows.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And what's funny is now what's funny about that, and this is way off topic, but so Tetris, like Nintendo's got a blockade on it in the United States, and they've got like an exclusivity thing or whatever it was, and they still rip it off like 100 times, like Dr. Mario and all those things. Like they're kind of Tetris-like. Like
yeah, I mean, every puzzle game is gonna kind of feel like Tetris. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
with the Kirby's Avalanche,
Puyo Puyo Pop,
I never played that
Super
one.
Bubble Bobble.
I think I may have played that one. But yeah, they were all like Tetris-y in extent. So like Nintendo was even ripping it off, and they they had the license on it. Oh, that's funny to me.
Yeah, Sega had columns. That was like, I guess that's what we'll have to do.
Yeah, it's like this is enjoy. Yeah, that's just But anyway, so yeah, basically this movie kind of is all ramping up into a really kind of like a showdown between Chaibot and his guys and Jackie Chan, and there's kind of like a subplot going on with Chaibot's wife has codes to some like security account or something, right? Or like
basically she has like all the Swiss bank account or whatever for all this drug money.
Yeah, and she's in prison for whatever reason. I can't remember why.
Yeah, I don't think they ever explained it in that movie because I was even the second time watching it, I don't think that she's just in there.
Yeah, like I kind of felt like it's alluded to the fact that Chaibot put her in prison.
Yeah.
But yes,
they're like an executor there because she's literally like at like court or whatever. They're like, give her the death penalty.
Yeah, they weren't fucking around.
No, they weren't. It's like it just feels like it's like, okay, this lady, like it feels like her biggest crime was that she's just married to the guy.
Yeah, it's yeah, so he's wanting to break her out of prison essentially, but before that, there's like a huge, mega, like a crazy action scene where you basically imagine like The Godfather, and there's that scene where they're like Corleone is like at the table meeting with the other heads of the other mafia families, and they're like trying to work out this, all that stuff, and so you have like all these like drug lords that are there, and Chaibot's like, running his mouth and trying to get them in, check, and like basically they all just fucking kill each other. Like they just all kind of die. It turns into a massive fight, huge explosions. Jackie Chan's doing crazy shit. That scene was insane.
Yeah, that's almost probably like that might be my favorite scene in the movie. There's so much ridiculous stuff. It's some of the explosion stunts that are going on in there. Just you watch these guys like, God, they're just blowing up. It's like once again, it's like there's a real explosion behind those guys, and it's big. People are on fire, getting thrown around, and everything like that. They're in Cambodia and Vietnam, so it's got that almost like kind of Rambo-y feel to this whole scene.
It reminded me of Predator.
Carnage galore. Yeah, it has that scene where like when they go into like when they take out the militia team or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, is the militia team at Predator when he rolls the truck down the hill and blows everything up. It kind of felt like that, but it was just crazy. So basically Jackie Chan took out a huge portion of the drug trade. Now he's got like the main guy is Chaibot, and now he's got to take him out. But long story short, they figure out who he is because Jackie Chan, out of billions of people in Asia.
And they're like in Malaysia too, or something like that, or wherever the heck they are. It's like not even like they're next to where he like lives at.
Yeah. They go to a whole ass new country, billions of people. And they're at this resort because they're getting ready to make the plan to break Chaibot's wife out of prison. And his girlfriend is there, like leading a team of tourists or whatever. Just randomly. Yeah.
It's almost like she forgot that he was going undercover. You know what I mean? Like, she's looking at him like he's been off for the last like 6 weeks or whatever, like, banging Michelle Yeoh or something like that. Like, it's like one of those ones, like, what his job is. He's undercover. Like, yeah, and so they kind of have just a comical scene where pretty much Jackie Chan just does the thing where he throws her under the bus, calling her like a hooker.
Well, actually, it was just hilarious. I think he did lie to her at the beginning. I think he lied to her about exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, he might not tell her all the details.
Yeah, I think he kind of made her think it was really safe what he was doing. He's just got to go away for 6 weeks. But then she sees him there at this resort with Michelle Yeoh, who's attractive as hell. Yeah, not that his girlfriend isn't either. They're both very pretty, but that's they play on that the whole time. Yeah. But she accidentally kind of spills the beans as to who he is.
Yeah, the elevator
blows his cover, which leads to the most insane fucking ending to one of the biggest endings you'll see in a movie ever. Like, it's just absolutely crazy with the stunts, the action, the fighting. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then like, Maggie Chung gets kidnapped or whatever. And then this is the one thing there's like that. I mean, it must be like a stunt double for that one, but like there's a part where she's in the helicopter and, Jackie Chan's trying to save her and they're like, we got your girlfriend and everything like that. And when they finally like release her, they like drop her out of the helicopter. She like falls and hits a car like about like 2 stories down or something like that. It's like, Jesus.
God,
whoever did that stunt, I was just like, my God.
I think it was probably her, like, because I read that her and Jackie Chan were trying to one up each other and like trying to out stunt each other, which I don't know. I can't imagine her not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was kind of looking at Maggie Chung, like, because other than Police Story, I was trying to think of what else she was in. I know she was in a bunch of other stuff, but it looks like it's more like drama type stuff.
Oh, that's
the
right.
girlfriend.
Yeah. I was getting mixed up for a second. I thought Michelle Yeoh, the helicopter. No, they did drop her, didn't they?
Yeah, she like falls, she drops like 2 stories and like hits a car. Like, it's one of those ones. It's just like, Jesus, like, could there be a better way? And then Jackie Chan goes and checks on her, and that's the last we ever see of her in the Police Story universe.
Oh, really? Is it?
She's not in 4 and 5.
She's at the end of the movie, though, right?
I don't think so. I literally don't, because the movie just ends with them on the train. You know what I mean? But that the last you see is Jackie Chan checks on her, and then that's it.
Wow, what a way to go out!
Yeah, so it's not like she's dead, damn. I guess, but
yeah, but damn. So anyway, yeah, she's dropped from a helicopter, and Jackie Chan's like, it's basically a fight or die situation. You got to take these guys out, or they're going to take you out. And there's this whole deal with like, they're on a train, there's a fucking helicopter, and the way they did that seemed the best way I could say is realistic. It just felt like everything was like hyper fantastic because it's just like these crazy stunts, but everything felt plausible, and the way it would happen, it was just really, really well done. But Jackie Chan hanging from that helicopter and all that shit, I wish one of his most famous stunts, I would say.
Yeah, they're just dragging him around everywhere and stuff. And then plus, like, Michelle Yeoh, she's got 2, like, a bunch of stunts, but there's like, of course she jumps a motorcycle on the train, which is really awesome. A moving train. She does it herself. And then there's that other part too, where she's hanging on the side of the van going through town and everything like that. And she has to jump onto the hood of the car that Jackie Chan comes up at, and when she lands on it, she hits the window and then rolls forward and rolls about like 15 times on the pavement. Like, you're like, jeez. And a couple times, like there's that one that you see like in the ending credits or whatever, where she like lands on the side of the car. Jackie Chan holds onto her for a second, and then she rolls off the top and rolls backwards. Like, just like, oh my gosh, just taking a beating.
Golly, tough as nails. Just absolutely tough as nails.
Yeah,
fucking legend. Like, she's a legend too. I mean, it's not just Jackie Chan here. I mean, she just this time, but the jump in the motorcycle, there's no way you get me to do that.
Well, that's the thing is, like, what Jackie Chan always said is like he can't be. No one will or will insure him. He has to pay for everything himself. So if somebody gets hurt, he just pays it out of pocket because no one will. So he takes care of all that stuff.
That's nuts. I can't even. When I was doing commercials, there was this one thing. I've actually never seen the final product of this. I don't know what it looked like, but there was, when I was doing the Scooter Danger Douglas Jr. thing, they decided it would be funny if I did a lot of stunts. So they had this one guy come in and do like this professional mountain biker, and he did some stuff that I wasn't gonna do. Like, he was doing like crazy jumps and stuff. So I actually had a stunt double.
Yeah.
And like he went through and did all this stuff, but all the other stuff they were making me do. And some of it was like I was in a green screen and I had like a parachute and stuff, and that stuff was easy. But they had me do this one thing where it was like I was cliff diving, and we were in Tahoe area. We're near like this big ski resort, Silver Star or something like that. I can't remember, North Star or something.
Okay.
But we're like Truckee area, and
okay,
I was on this big rock, and I had to jump and kind of flip and land on this cushion, but it was on top of other rocks.
Oh, Jesus.
And and it was kind of scary. But then I thought, I watched what they do, and I'm like, man, I was kind of a bitch because like it really compared to what they're doing, they would have done that like 100 times. Like I was not in danger at all. Like it was a little scary looking at it, but I was definitely going to be fine. Even without like a professional stunt team there or anything, it was like I was okay. And this was an insurance company, so if someone's got you covered, you got the insurance company there. Yeah. So that was it was pretty nice, but
that's I think there's that stunt that's in Enter the Dragon that Jackie Chan does in that movie where he had a record for like one of the highest falls at one point, but he literally falls like 90 feet onto concrete, like lands on his back on concrete. Nobody else was going to do it, so he just
he's like falling through the like awnings and stuff and like that.
Except he literally lands just straight on concrete. There's no pads or anything. It's just old school. It's like old school wrestling when they don't have the pads on the outside.
It's so fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, he just took that bump. You know what I mean? And that was it.
Dude, that's more of a bump. That's like, I think that might be even worse than Mankind going through the cage. It's pretty fucking nuts, man. Oh my God, that's just so fucking crazy. What a tough dude. This movie, is this his his magnum opus in terms of like stunts and everything together?
It's like, I know that like the Police Story 1, 2, and 3 are all kind of in that very, like, they're all in the high bar sort of section of Jackie Chan's kind of like, that's almost like, there's other Police Story movies, but that kind of trilogy one sort of is. This movie, I feel, at least for like the US audience, this definitely has that feeling of like, that is kind of like his biggest sort of feeling movie in a sense,
I think in terms of just action and stunts and everything, you're hard pressed to find something more impressive. Like he had some and even in the Rush Hour movies, just some impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. But
there's all that stuff. I think even like the ones, as a Police Story, and even things, and like even stuff of just martial arts type stunts or whatever, like in Drunken Master and everything like that. There's some things he does in that movie where you're just like, geez, that's so ridiculous. Because that's like one of the Drunken Master, the original one. Like the second one's okay, but the second one almost goes so completely different from like the first one. But that original one is just mind-blowingly good. I feel like that's in my top 5 favorite kung fu movies of all time.
Yeah, he's just such a fucking legend. And Michelle Yeoh as well. I mean, what has she all been in? She's also in Crouching Tiger, obviously.
Yeah. Well, what's an interesting one. I thought, I wish it was going to be here by today or what I showed you, but there's a Supercop 2 that came out after this movie, and it stars Michelle Yeoh, and it still has Stanley Tong, the director of Supercop, and he also did Police Story 4, Jackie Chan's first strike in the U.S. But you pretty much could only get it in the U.S. on VHS. So I just bought a VHS copy off eBay for like $8 or whatever. Because there was like a DVD, but it was like an Australian DVD or something. That's weird how like Australia will get stuff that like nobody else will get. I don't know why that. I find that all the time, but the downfall is you just got to get your all region DVD player or whatever if you want to use those Australian ones, because they got the weird like region 6 code or whatever the heck it is down there.
They do have video games too, don't they? Kind of like your regions and stuff.
Yeah, the video games there's like 6 regions, I think, of like movies, but then there's only like 3 regions of like video games generally. I think. I don't know. Brazil might be sort of different, but yeah, like, so I'm looking kind of forward to this because I'm like, that just sounds awesome. Anyways, Michelle Yeoh starring in it. Jackie Chan has a cameo, but then Stanley Tong, as I said, that's he was the kind of guy who did a lot of those 90s Jackie Chan movies. He, the director of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely sorry, my voice. Now, I had this last night, like acid reflux kind of stuff. Gosh, my eyes are tearing up.
I hate that burn.
Yeah. Sorry. Man, it's this time of year, every year, when the weather, like you're getting close to the end of winter, and like you just a touch of the hint of the warm weather's coming down the horizon. That's when I get like this.
Yeah.
Every single time. If I eat anything, like even ketchup, like just destroys
anything
me.
acidic. Yeah.
Anything. Yeah. Anyway, but Supercop definitely is one of the best movies I've ever seen doing this. Like, it's absolutely incredible. If you like action movies, this one's like God tier. I mean, this is just one of those amazing, like, must see action movies. Definitely one of the best Jackie Chan movies. And that's saying something. One of the most impressive things I've ever seen. It's just, it's absolutely incredible. So there's 2 versions you could watch. It's going to be easier just to get Supercop instead of Police Story 3. Just, you can find that most places. But definitely watch this one. This is definitely like one of the most highest recommendations that you'll get on this podcast, because I mean, it's as I said, it's God tier for action.
Yeah. It's one of those ones like you almost can't really get a stronger movie than this. Like, it just delivers on all fronts. It's so good, you know what I mean? And it's almost like those kind of stunts. And I'm not saying that there's not stunts later on, because there's a lot of those Thai martial arts movies that are kind of like have some ridiculous stuff in them. But this one still just has some of those stunts where you're just like, oh, and even though it's like sometimes the smallest stunts, I'll see those and I'll be like, man, that's gotta hurt. Like, 'cause sometimes it's like, it's not, the most giant one. It's sort of like when watching wrestling. Sometimes it'll just be some certain moves and I just go, God, that probably hurt so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? You'll just see certain small things that probably the average person wouldn't even think much of, because it doesn't make a big impact, but just small one. But this movie's just got stunts galore. Just, ridiculous action, like everything about it's awesome. It really kind of puts me actually in a Jackie Chan mood. I'm like, I kind of want to bust out some other ones and start going down the list.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, what I think of when I'm watching this stuff, you watch certain action movies, and at a certain point in the movie, you're like, the main character would have never survived all this stuff. And you watch these movies and it kind of crosses your mind for a second, like, there's no way they would have survived all these things. But the main character literally did survive all these things because they actually fucking did it. Like,
yep.
That's what's crazy about it. Like, and then you think of the context of his entire career. And he's broken bones and ankles and gotten hurt. But the fact that he's, almost 70 years old this year.
Yeah.
He turned 70 this year. Still alive, still kicking, no pun intended, and just, survive all the things he's done and, functioning. It's pretty damn crazy, because he's put himself through some shit.
Yeah, and he's literally one of the biggest actors in the entire world. I think he was like, he always holds about number 3 in like the entire world, give or take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's popular in the United States, but worldwide, when you look at the global context of Jackie Chan, he's up there with like Tom Cruise. I mean,
yeah, I think worldwide, he's just ginormous. And that's the thing that people kind of forget, how big he is, like, around everywhere. And I think he actually has the most amount of movies. I don't think anybody else has as many movies as he does. I want to say, I remember he got that like 10 years ago or something like that.
So that's another, being prolific like that.
Yeah.
Like, to do all those stunts, I would feel like, even if I was really good at that, I was built his way and had that kind of discipline, I feel like I'd still want more time between films, because you got to recover and stuff. So the fact that he's that prolific and does all these things is even more impressive.
Well, it's like when they used to do those movies in the 70s, like, they would literally do like a movie a month almost sometimes. It'd be like, you do one movie and then you kind of go right in the next one. And as they're probably doing the next one, the guy's editing it and then they come on out, And even speaking of movie making, there's actually one other cool thing about Supercop is Supercop is the very first sound sync movie for a Chinese movie, ironically. Because, in China, just like like Italy and so on like that, they just used to do the straight up, they always dubbed them. So even if you watch the Chinese version of most old Chinese movies, same thing of Italian movies and all that stuff, they're always dubbed. They just shoot them silent, which I think probably definitely, I mean, you're always going to look like you have a dumb movie, but you can see that probably saves, it's probably so much easier to make a movie when you don't have to worry about the sound. Oh, the airplane's flying over. Oh, there's a car alarm over there. There's this in the background. You just shoot it like that. And you just know that, like, then once we're in the studio, we just put all the lines in. It probably makes the filmmaking experience. That's probably why they didn't switch over for the longest time, because they're like, we could just make these movies. We can just crank them a lot more. And there's not all those other little issues.
Just like how digital has made it so much easier for everything else too.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting. It's like, 1992, first time that China ever sound synced.
Damn.
Everything else is a dub movie, no matter what.
It's a big movie. This movie's important. This is definitely one of those Smithsonian type movies, but we didn't make it, so it won't be there. But but it's definitely important. But Supercop 3, definitely enjoy it. And also, again, Ninjutsu Sunrise.
Yes. Pizza Boys.
Do that. Pizza Boys. Check it out. Definitely be a link in the description. And we just kind of got us in a kung fu mood, and glad we watched this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down for martial arts films. I just love them. I hope they come back to theaters one of these days. It's been too long. I mean, the Everything Everywhere at Once, that's like the first one in such a long time, because I felt like the last time there was a real kung fu movie in theaters was Man with the Iron Fist, the RZA's one. That was like because remember that was almost like such a big moment. It's like, this is it, and then it's like there was never really a kung fu movie past that point. There's movies that might have a couple kung fu scenes, like Shang-Chi or something like that, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're kung fu movies in total.
Mm-hmm. Man with the Iron Fist, that had Russell Crowe in it too, right?
Yeah, that's a great movie. Like, it's one of those ones, like, everything about that film I thought was fantastic.
Mm. Yeah, it needs to come back. We need more practical, spectacle stuff other than CGI to get people back in theaters, I think. And, hopefully there'll be a renaissance of, practical stunts and practical effects and stuff like that. So, but if it's not, you always have Supercop to look back on and other great films like that. So anyway, as always, thanks for listening. Definitely go to omanorange.com if you want to check out all the stuff Spencer does, and OMO Orange Podcast, and of course Pizza Boys, and the newest issue, the Ninjutsu Sunrise.
Yep.
Check that out, especially if you are now in that kung fu mode after listening to this. Definitely go check that out. So big deal. Sorry it took 3 weeks to tie this in. This is our McDonald's time. Okay. Is what this is. Yeah.
Well, we finally got there, and it all worked out. That's what I'm happy about.
I agree. But definitely go check out Supercop. You can find it pretty much anywhere. I watched it on Vudu. If you want to, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say there is a new version coming out by, I think, 88 Films, or one of those nice companies, but they're always expensive movies. They're putting out a new Supercop one like in the next month or so.
Oh, really?
There's one. It's like $30 Blu-ray. I think it has both versions on it. I could be wrong, but so I don't know if it's gonna be more special edition or anything like that, because there's not really none of my other versions have any special features, which is kind of a bummer.
Interested to see that. So more Supercop on the way as well. But as always, if you want to yell at us, go to Via VHS on Twitter, at Via VHS Pod on Instagram. Find me on TikTok at Via VHS. And come share with us. We got some more stuff coming on the way. I think we figured out this internet issue, which is going to help me tremendously, because now there's some other episodes I'm going to get up. So you should start to see a flurry of Via VHS content, including the Indiana Jones Chronicles that we've been working on, which we might do some more of here really soon. So anyway, thanks for listening. Y'all have a good one, and Via VHS is out.